But we begin this hour with President Trump's economy, which is facing growing uncertainty after new signs that his tariffs are putting a squeeze on the U.S. economy. In a move that could undermine confidence in the U.S. economy, Trump yesterday fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics just hours after the release of a weaker than expected jobs report. July's jobs report showed that only 73,000 jobs were added, well below Wall Street expectations. But stunning revisions to the May and June jobs numbers showed 258,000 fewer jobs were added than previously reported. President Trump claimed, without evidence, that the jobs numbers were, quote, rigged to make him look bad. But the disappointing jobs report came on the heels of more uncertainty of President Trump's own making as he announced sweeping new tariffs for much of the world, which are set to take effect on August 7th. And we're already seeing signs that the tariffs are driving up the costs of goods for you, the consumer. The Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge ticked higher last month as tariffs pushed up the prices of some imported goods like household furniture and appliances. Joining us now is the governor of Colorado, Jared Polis. Governor Polis, welcome to the weekend. Thank you very much for being here. Let me just get your reaction to President Trump firing the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because he didn't like the jobs numbers.
This is an example of shooting the messenger. Look, there's been times, and we have a state labor statistics department. Yes, there's been times when there's been big revisions, and that's based on information that's submitted by the private sector, by others. It's compilated by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The president didn't like what he saw, and rather than look in the mirror and say, look, guess what? My tariffs and tax increases are causing this, and we're already seeing the devastating impact across the country. Rather than doing that, he just said, I don't like the person who tabulated the information, and it's not going to change the reality.
Governor, we're seeing a world in which, to protect from these tariffs, some of you governors are going to have to figure out what to do in those states. What are you doing in your state to protect your consumers, your voters, the people in your state from the effects that are probably coming pretty soon from some of these tariffs?
Well, I mean, and look at these negotiations, right? The negotiation with Europe, perhaps largely concluded, we went from 2 to 3% tariffs to 15% tariffs. That's 5-6 times higher. Those are price increases directly passed along to Americans. And it also hurts manufacturing and farms and ag, because these are important export businesses, not just in Colorado, but across the country. And when you say, what can governors do? It's tough because we are subject to that. Now, first of all, we're engaged in a lawsuit. Colorado's a party to that, saying the president doesn't have the authority from Congress to arbitrarily impose a large set of these tariffs that this action would cover. We're seeking a court order to prevent him from imposing them. Secondly, we're doing a deep dive in analysis to show the cost of these tariffs to our state. And frankly, it's an unfunded mandate from the federal government that gets passed along to taxpayers across the states. Everything costs more. Roads, highways, schools, everything that states do, and everything that you do as an individual consumer when you're going grocery shopping or back to school shopping for your kids.
Governor, it's Sam Stein here. I want to shift topics a little bit because people in your position, governors, Democratic governors specifically, who run states that have a lot of Democrats in power, are going to be put in a bit of a spotlight fairly soon. Texas is going to redistrict. There's going to be ample pressure on people like you, Governor Newsom, et cetera, to respond in kind. I know Colorado has two impediments to doing something like this. One is a constitutional amendment passed in 2018 that says you have to go through an independent commission. The other is a state Supreme Court ruling that ruled mid-cycle, mid-decade redistricting unconstitutional. Are those impediments, are they too big to overcome? Are you looking at ways to overcome them? Should we expect Colorado to take any action whatsoever if Texas were to redistrict?
Yeah, in Colorado, we do have a constitutional amendment where the voters, over 70% of the voters, by the way, chose to take the power of redistricting away from the legislature and give it to a nonpartisan commission. That process has gone very well. I think what we see happening in other states largely is a crisis of confidence. People no longer believe their politicians. Their politicians are changing the lines to choose their voters rather than having people in an election choose their competitions. It's wrong. It'll be backfire on Republicans in Texas if they move forward. And of course, you're hearing discussion in other states about what to do.
So just to be clear, there's nothing that will be done in Colorado in response to Texas.
Well, Colorado has a part of our state constitution actually lays out this process. So it's not one that involves the legislature and governor.
Governor, switching topics again, listen to what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had to say when he was talking about these Trump baby accounts. Watch this.
In a way, it is a backdoor for privatizing Social Security. Like Social Security is a defined benefit plan paid out that, to the extent that if all of a sudden these accounts grow and you have in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for your retirement, then that's a game changer too.
Now, Governor, I played that because after that, to sort of clean up on East Exec Drive, the secretary put a post out on X saying this, and I'm reading here: Trump baby accounts are an additive benefit for future generations, which will supplement the sanctity of Social Security's guaranteed payments. This is not an either-or question. Our administration is committed to protecting Social Security and to making sure seniors have more money. Governor, how on earth can we, well, which Secretary Bessent was telling the truth? The one in the soundbite we showed or the one in the X post? And also, do you even believe him, considering what Congress just did with the so-called big, beautiful bill that is now law that cuts Medicaid and will eventually put 15 million people out of health care?
Well, clearly, as we would say in Colorado, he got over his skis with that first comment, but it also shows what he's thinking. I mean, this was not something that was, entirely unthoughtful or not something that clearly he had thought about. I think there are people, and he might be one, the president might be one, that kind of see this as a way to begin that discussion about putting Social Security at risk. Obviously, he backed off of it. That would be very unpopular. But I think we saw perhaps a glimpse into what some of them are thinking long term with regard to these changes that are made. As you might know, the actual tax benefits around these so-called Trump baby accounts are fairly minimal. They often don't make as much sense for taxpayers as other mechanisms like 529s and other tax-deferred entities. So if they are trying to undermine Social Security, that's not a very effective first step. But I know there are those that won't rest until they've reined in the benefits that people have earned by paying into Social Security for their whole careers.
Governor, what we saw earlier was a couple weeks ago where Congress rescinded some of the money for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, millions of dollars, and has now led to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting saying it will shut down after Congress cuts the money. CPR, huge in Colorado. I've been on it. I have friends that work there. They say currently the CPB helps support more than 1,500 locally owned public radio and television stations. But we'll close at the end of we'll conclude with the close of the fiscal year on September 30th. Your thoughts on this?
Well, like you, I love NPR, love their work, and it would be one thing if the federal government were doing these unpopular and difficult things to balance the budget, but while they are cutting NPR, they're actually increasing the budget deficit. So not only are they not solving our nation's fiscal problems, they're actually making them worse. It makes it hard to justify this kind of painful cut that directly hurts consumers, the American people, education. And yes, we need to balance our budget federally, but they've made it worse. They've increased the deficit by trillions of dollars, and at the same time cut programs that are very important for the American people.
Are you going to do anything as governor of Colorado to help sustain and make sure that the Colorado Public Radio doesn't end up closing?
Well, we love CPR, Colorado Public Radio. I hope they're not in danger of closing. They have a great fundraising base and support here in our state. I'm always happy to join them for fundraising drives and events. And I know they get a lot of viewers, so I hope that they're able to make a go of it. It would be a shame to have to cut back some of our remaining independent media that holds those in power accountable.
Governor, thank you so much for joining us this morning.